Sichot of the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Chelik Alef, Parshas Vayechi. The bracha mit welche Yaakov Avinu hat gebencht sein Sohn Asher, the blessing that God gave to his son Asher, which Yaakov gave to Asher. Now, this week's Torah portion, what happens is Yaakov is about to die, and he gathers up all of his sons, and he says, I want to give you a blessing, and each one is going to get a blessing of what's his real fate is, and who he really is, his true identity and his true fate. And I'm giving you a blessing to bring all this into reality. So each one got a different blessing because each one, Yaakov just drew down from the source of each one of these, the potential which was in each one of the tribes. Yaakov was bringing it out. So he was giving them a blessing according to what he saw was in their essence. The brachas mitvelcha Yaakov, the blessings with which Yaakov had gebenched, blessed his son Asher, is me'asher shmeina lachma. From Asher, the fat will be his bread. Zoktoiv them Rashi says, as thus meant, that this means fat. Shemena also means oil. Oil. This means as by him will be a sach boimel. There'll be a lot of oil. Shemen in Hebrew is oil. Shemen also means shuman, also means to be fat, but shemen in this case means oil. And Rashi is Mosef, and Rashi adds on, as thus is oich given Moshe Rabbeinu's bracha, that this is also the blessing that Moses gave to Asher. Right at the end of the very end of the Torah, there's the portion. This is what we read on Simchat Torah. Zota bracha. This is the blessing that Moshe Ish Elokim, God man. It says Moshe was half God, half man. That Moses blessed also Asher. Same thing. But Tovil b'shemen raglo, and that he will immerse in oil his foot. This is the blessing that was given him. The oil will be his bread, and that was what Yaakov said, and Moshe said that Asher will immerse his feet in oil. Of course, this is obviously alluding to something much deeper than that. They're just going to have a lot of oil. We'll see. We already spoke a lot of times, Veg and Dem, about the fact, as Ale and Yanim, that all of the things, was Zayin and Da in Gashmish, which are in the physical world, Zayin and Oich Da Beruchnis are also in the spiritual world. And there's everything there is here in the world is like the tip of the iceberg, as hinting at something wondrous and mysterious and spiritual and real. When Adarav, exactly the opposite. Fundi and Yanim from Ruchni is from the spiritual things, Kuman and Rav come down, these Zelbu and Yanim, the same things, Oich Lamata, physical in the physical world. Oib does is a zoy. If so, in Yanim from Velt and things in the world, Mikol Shechen, how much more so of a kol v'chomer as the in Yanim, how much more so the things which are in the Torah. If everything in the world indicates on something spiritual, for sure everything in the Torah indicates something spiritual. Zayin and Da in Ruchnis, they are in the physical, in the spiritual world. So also what's written in the Torah is also the tip of the iceberg of spiritual things that are going on. Barum, because they're Inyan from Torah, everything which is in the Torah, Hadach in Zich, is nit nor, not only Dam Pshat, the simple meaning, also it has in it remez and hints and drush and things we can learn from it, and also secrets. I mean, that's what the Torah is, right? The Torah is a religious book. It's a book about the soul, about God, about these spiritual things that we can't see, that are very real. that are very real, that are controlling our lives. We should be very concerned with this. Just like us personally, a person has a physical part, and then he has a spiritual part. And the spiritual part is much more important, much more valuable, much more meaningful than the physical things. A person eats a good meal or something like that, very good. He feels good physically, but it doesn't help him spiritually. Right? Not spiritually. A person is empty. It is a meaningless life. He's depressed. Eat a good meal. It's not going to help him. The bracha, spiritual. So what's in the world? Everything in the world has a spiritual, and it's pointing to something spiritual. How much more so everything in the Torah? Say also this blessing which is given, Me'asher Shemei Lachma, from Asher, his bread will be oil. Utovo b'shemen raglo, and that his foot will be dipped in oil. Is chach in the mikra, even though that ein mikra yotzim b'tei pshuto, even though the Torah never leaves its simple meaning. Even though the Torah always has a simple meaning to it, right? If it says in the Torah that there was such a person like Abraham, and there was such a person that really existed. If it says that Asher is going to dip his foot in oil, it's going to happen. It's going to be physical oil. But all these things, that's true. But all these things also hint at something much higher. Is taka geven. These things will really be, and they really were, peshut in gashmis, asach zeisim, that he's going to have a lot of olives, or oich brayton, oil brayton. He's going to have a lot of olive oil, udem nachla from Asher in the portion of Asher, right? Every tribe had their own portion in Israel. In Israel, there's going to be a lot, and in the portion of Asher, there's going to be a lot of olive trees, good olive trees. Like Rashi brings also a whole story, which is told in the Gemara. But nevertheless, this is not the whole content of what's the simple meaning is not the whole content of the sentence. When it says zichar faran de inyan oichen ruch, this thing is also spiritual. Obviously, I mean that's the whole blessing. He's going to have a lot of oil. Okay, and it's a nice blessing. You know, you get very rich and you have a lot of oil. Oil is a very necessary thing, very good thing. But there's something much deeper than that. They're in from Tovel B'Shem and Ragla, this whole idea of dipping his foot in oil, in spiritual, what is it? Oil, olive oil, is a remez, is a hint, an deitung, a hint, an indication on of chachma, what's called chachma. What's chachma? Chachma is usually translated as wisdom. It's not a very encompassing translation. The word chachma is hechter tile from the mention. It's the highest aspect of a human being. Chachma. Chachma can be translated in many ways. One way is faith, emuna, faith, awareness of something which is above understanding. Something which is unique to a human. Like I said, maybe you can also call this chachma, comes conscience, a person's conscience, all of a sudden, a feeling of what's right and wrong. Chachma. Talent, unique talent that a person has. He's got a chachma, it's a unique talent that a person has. It's also a type of chachma, something above understanding, right? Why is this person a better piano player than everybody else? Why is this person a better basketball player than me? It's a chachma. He does, something clicks inside of him and it all works together. That's chachma. It's above all understanding. That's the highest part. So what does it say? By Asher, it says he will dip his foot in oil. Oil represents the highest aspect of man. Regel, his foot, is the lowest part of man. Tovel b'shem and raglo, that what it says, he will dip in oil his foot. This means that the foot nutzt sich mit shemen. that the foot will utilize oil. What does it mean? The chach that even though externally is the regel, the foot is the lowest level from deswegen, nevertheless, is faran in ear, gora grace mila. There's a very high level. What is in the oil? What is in the foot? The foot biz as a filu chachma, even oil kumt nitzu de mila. The foot itself has something that it uses oil. In other words, like a person uses a car. What's higher, the person or the car? The person. The car is a certain thing that it adds to a person. It can go fast, it can go far, but nevertheless, the person is higher. Same thing, the foot uses oil, means that the foot is higher than oil. The foot is the lowest part of a human being, and the oil represents the highest part. Oil means chachma, wisdom. Nevertheless, there's something in the foot that's higher than the highest aspect of man. Was darfon benutz sich regel mit shemen. Therefore, the foot can use oil. We can also find the same thing in the days of the Moshiach. What's going to be by the Moshiach? It says by Moshiach a similar thing. It says v'amdu raglav b'yomahu al har hazeitim. It says that his feet are going to stand on that day on the mountain of olives. It's a pasuk in Zechariah, prophet Zechariah. His feet will stand on the mount of olives. What does this mean? Shemen, oil, olives. Olives come from oil, right? I mean, oil comes from olives. Shemen, oil, is chachma. What are zaitim? What is olives? Olives represents, we're talking about what it represents, it's spiritual. Chachma, we said before, is a hint, a metaphor, a parable, what do you want for wisdom. Zaitim, what is olives? Olives is the source of wisdom. Un hara zaitim, what is the mountain of olives? The mountain of olives. The mountain, that's the source of the tree which makes the olives, which make the oil. So the oil is above the highest aspect of man. That represents the highest aspect, wisdom. Olives are the source of wisdom. It's even higher. The mountain of olives is even higher than the grape, than the olives. Varum, because this is the place from Velchas Kumt. This is from where the olives come out. So the source of the oil, which we said is chachma, is olives, and the source of the olives is the mountain of olives. Und der verstandig und doch verstandig, so it's understood as har hazeitim. So the mountain of olives is the highest level. And from deswegen, nevertheless, it says by Moshiach that Moshiach's feet will stand on, not just on the oil or on the olives, which is the source of the oil, but on the mountain, which is the source of the olives. Un raglayim is the lowest part of the Mashiach will be higher than the mountain of olives. What does this mean? A human being that's going to have the wisdom of God, like it says with King Solomon. I mean, you probably noticed that the world is a very, very complicated place, and it's very, very difficult, very deep, very confusing, because things can happen in the world that it seems, pretty obvious what to do, and you're just completely wrong. You were fooled, right? You see how easy it is to fool. Just to take an example, says Mashiach is going to come, and all of the nations will drop all of their religions. We talked about this before. Now, these religions aren't so bad. What's wrong with them? They have good ideas, right? They're spiritual. They take a person out of his physical state. They have a certain degree of truth to them, right? You see that they're very popular and they work to a certain degree, right? And the people have belief in things and they heal them. There's these amazing stories from the Eastern religions of the East and all these, right? So what could possibly be wrong? The answer is that the world can really, really trick you. And it can confuse you. And some people really, really make use of this to the hilt. The confusion, that the ability of the world to confuse a person. Well, the whole essence of Mashiach is that he's going to explain what the source of everything is. Not just the source of the source, but he's going to explain it in simple terms that are going to be relevant to this world. So that's what it says. The Mashiach is not just going to stand above the secrets, the oil. He's going to stand above the secrets of the secrets. That's the alefs. And he's going to above even the secrets which are behind those secrets, which is the mount of alefs. And Mashiach is going to be a person that he's going to explain and direct everyone so that the world is going to reveal its true potential from the deepest sources inside of every soul. Their inyan from Shem and the whole idea of the oil with the feet and avodah. That's why it says the Mashiach feet are going to stand on the mountain of olives. What does this mean to us? This is talking about Mashiach, but what does this mean to us? That's the main point of this. I mean, it's not just to tell us very interesting stories that we can impress our friends. This is telling us what we have to do, hard work, change our nature. Avoda is oil, is chachma. This means, as he learned Torah, that he learns Torah and he does the commandments, val hat in them, because he has a farstand. The idea with doing Torah with oil. Oil means that a person learns the Torah and it's it's lubricated. It goes, it moves. It moves smoothly, like you put oil in your car, everything moves smoothly. That he learns Torah and he gets a pleasure from it. Of a regel, that's learning Torah with your head. But foot, what is the foot? Foot, your feet don't understand anything. Foot, serving God with your feet. That's what's called service of Kabbalat Ol, accepting the yoke of godliness. Like an ox pulls a cart with a yoke. And the ox doesn't understand anything. He just does what the owner tells him to do, and he benefits from it. The same thing is with us. We have to tie ourselves up to the commandments like an ox because we don't understand God. That's called serving God with your feet. Schach and plug, even though is thus a nidra madrega, even though this is a very low level, that we have it in common with an animal. To be act like an animal, that's Judaism. Judaism is supposed to be a wise reason who chachmaschem. But room because eradach and them nit kein geschmack. Serving God just with your feet. In other words, just serving God like an ox, you don't get any pleasure from it. You just do what you're told to do. No life. That's serving God with your feet, so to speak, to make yourself into a foot. Men git vi kabbalas mi merinit vi kabbalas all. All you have is you're accepting this yoke. Learn from Desvegen, nevertheless, there's a very high thing about serving God in such a way. In avoda mitzad kabbalat all, or if avoda mitzad tam v'dat, there's something much higher than serving God unquestionably and without any understanding than understanding everything. Why? V'men vet weiter, like we're going to explain. Now, you have to understand, the Rebbe is not saying here, don't learn Torah, don't understand. He says, of course you should understand, of course you should learn, but you have to understand, like King David said, Ani tolat v'lo ish. You realize that you're learning and you're understanding, you're just using your mind to grasp the ideas that God wants, just like you use your arm to put on tefillin. You don't understand nothing. You're doing what God wants. It just happens to be that with tefillin, you use your arm, and with Torah, you use your brain. But really, you're serving God in a way just like your foot. Just like the foot understands God, so your head understands God. You don't understand God, but it's a commandment and to try to understand, so you understand all the Gemoras you understand. That's where humility comes from. And therefore, is oich gashmis in physical world, was the inyanim in gashmis, which the physical things come from spiritual. Farana Mila, therefore, there's something better about the foot over the head. Why? Because the foot, davka, is mashlim, it completes the head. Kamavur, like explained in Likute Torah, Parshas Nitzavim. Something really miraculous is there about the foot. That's why it says the foot of the Mashiach will be. The same thing is with us. Our feet means our Kabbalat all, our serving God without understanding anything. Like an ox. There's something really, really high about this. And like I want to just stress again, it doesn't mean that we have to throw away understanding. We have to understand that all of understanding that we do have, it's just like an ox understands. Right? We're doing it, we can't really understand God. We really can't even understand the Torah. The Torah is so amazing. It's just a miracle that we do understand. It's a total miracle. To understand, we have to understand what is so great about the foot over the head. Also understand what is the connection between the foot and Asher. This is a blessing to the tribe of Asher. One of the 12 tribes, Asher. Darfman, for free, we have to first of all understand what is this whole idea of Machane Dan, what's called the camp of Dan. When the Jews traveled in the desert, Varum Asher is in Dan. Okay, when the Jews traveled in the desert, so they traveled four groups. Each group had 3 tribes in it. The first one was what Yehuda was first. So Yehuda, he traveled, and he had with him what the Reuven and, I have to look and see, I don't remember, Yisachar, I think. And that those 3 traveled together. And there was one on the right and one on the left. The last one that traveled, the last tribe, the last group that traveled was called Machane Dan, the camp of Dan. The camp of Dan. In the camp of Dan was Dan, Asher, and Naphtali, I think. So Asher was part of the tribe, was part of the camp of Dan. And Dan was the last tribe to travel. They were the last ones when they traveled in the desert, and also when they camped. Machane Dan, the tribe of Dan, is given Masev L'Kol HaMachanos. It was the last of all the camps. Zezainen and Gegangen zum Sof, they went to the end of all the camps. Und durch them, and by means of this, haben sie gehabt, they had the Möglichkeit, the opportunity to gefinnen, to find all the things which have been in the other camps, but they got lost. Und umkehren sie, and they could return them to the ones who originally owned them. So now here we go. Asher is part of this camp of Dan. Dan is the last of the camps to travel, and one of their jobs is they would, anything that anybody else lost when they were traveling in the desert, they would pick it up and return it to them. Now this is relevant to us now. And this is going to be with the tribe of Asher, that his foot is in the oil, which oil is wisdom, and the foot is the feet of the Mashiach. We're going to tie this all together. This means, as nit cooking notwithstanding of them, the fact that that was the last, this indicates that some way that they were the least from the honor from all the other tribes. From Desvegen, nevertheless, when Adarab, and exactly the opposite, not nevertheless, but because of this, mitzad them, because of this, that they were the last, they could return everything which was lost to the other camps. Okay, what does this mean to us now, physically, actually? Let's see how long this next one is. Just one moment, please. Let's try it. Come. Like we said before, in all inyanim, that everything there's in physical world, there's also a counterpart, and it stems from something spiritual. This fact of something getting lost, and that Machane Dan, the camp of Dan, which Asher was part of that, they could return the lost things. What are these lost things? This is like it says By Rizal, Ezehu Shota, who is a fool? A person that loses everything that's given to him. A fool is a person that he has no sense of propriety. He has no sense of responsibility. He loses what is given to him. Zoktar them, it's Chassidus. It says in Chassidus, what does it mean? As Milamaila Gitman gives a Jew ma. It says a fool is someone who loses ma shenotnim, whatever. Ma this is a spiritual level. This is the Gematria 45, and it's one of God's names. This is the aspect of godliness in the soul. Chachma. We said chachma, the power of surrender to God. Every Jew is given this surrender to God. If you want to call this hidden love, like we said before, thus says this means the power from bittul, the power to surrender to God. And it's possible for a Jew to lose his ma. It's possible for a Jew to lose mavet et kol ma. A Jew can lose his ma. What is this level of ma? This aspect of God that enables him to surrender to God. To God. This can be lost. Every Jew has this gift, but because of a person's Yetzer Hora, his evil impulse, which is called Melech Zaken V'Kasa, which is called a old foolish king. Kisil Shota, the evil impulse, the person's selfishness is called an old foolish king. That's a shota, that's a fool. A fool. What do we say? A fool is a person that loses ma that's given to him. He loses whatever. Because a person is a fool, he listens to what his selfish impulse says. As Ken Men Farlerin, a person can lose, God forbid, his ma, his ability to surrender to the truth. On the Aveda, and this loss, Vert gefunden can be who finds it? The tribe of Dan. The tribe of Dan is the last of all. He can return this ma. They're the ones that return everything that's lost. The machanot, the camps, was seinen gegangen früher, all the camps that went earlier first, ungewen nun zu the Mishkan, that were close to the tabernacle, which traveled along with them. It was folded up and everything, but it traveled along with them. Afilu Shevet Levi, even the tribe of Levi and the tribe of Kahast, which they were right next to the ark, the holy ark. Again, by Zayah Metzias, there could be a situation that they can lose their bittul, they can lose their ma, they can lose their essence of Judaism. But then they're the last, the regal, the feet. We talked about the feet. They are the feet of the camp, of all the camps. Is nit nor not only which they have their level of ma, which is their soul, by them it's whole, they don't lose it, but even more, they can return the ma, this power of surrender to the truth, which was by all the other tribes, even the highest tribes, even Levi that was close to the ark, the holy ark, they can lose something, and who gives it back? The tribe of Dan, Asher. Azoivim had, like we said before, because the regal, the foot, has something that completes even the head. Humility has something that's higher even than the highest powers of the soul. And that's going to be also the main feature of Mashiach, this level of total humility and surrender to the creator of the universe, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. And now we can do Yom Yom. Let's just do a little bit of the Yom Yom of today. Today is the 12th day, right, of Tevis. In the year Tov Reish Mem Chet, which I guess this means 1888, the Rebbe Rashab was made the Gabbai of the Chever Kadisha. No, it couldn't be, huh? Adoni Avi Morizal. Adoni Avi Morizal. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And according to the custom, I was brought and Simchas Torah with a big entourage to the shul, to the shul. Omer then it said that my father said the Maimer Eina Kodesh Baruch Hu Bo Betrunya, and finally he said also the highest people, the people that are the biggest geniuses and Torah scholars now, they have to put all their intellect aside and not to go after logic, because a person can make a big mistake according to their logic. Like we said, the whole thing of Mashiach is going to be above logic and against people's logic, until, God forbid, their end will be very bitter. And this is the main thing nowadays in the days of the Mashiach, not to go after intellect or Tam Vadas, but rather to do the Torah and the commandments in tamimos and pure faith in the God of Israel. Have a good day, everyone. 3 o'clock, we're learning Chumash, Parshas Vayechi. All the blessings be with us, and you'll be pleased. Shalom uvracha. Thank you all. God bless you all. Bring your friends. Have a good day with Mashiach now.